you guys enjoy your whatever that is.
All right. Test.
Test.
Test. What do you call it again?
Convincing idiots.
Convincing idiots.
Called it ham gravy.
I informed them that I sided with the stat man, not just anyone's opinion, the stat man Brian Fisher.
These kids today.
Jingle All the Way is in fact the best Christmas movie of all time.
I need to get Grandma a present, and my herpes is flaring up. I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, yo, yo. I'm the millennial
We're
Santa.
three friends representing three different generations. That's our whole shtick. That's our thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nick got the whole poop.
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing in the sea
Caucasian.
breeze, holding a turd, just mightily. I'm just going hitting hats.
Anyway, on a lighter note,
Three.
And welcome back to segment number 3 of Convincing Idiots. I'm Millennial Nick, alongside Gen X Brian and Zennial Dean. This is our third segment, and you may call it our final act. And speaking of final acts, we are going to be talking about, that's right, segment 2 was even filled with a lot of death, but that had nothing on what segment 3 will bring. This
What
is the
jokes?
Grim Reaper session. We are going to be discussing our top fictional character deaths that have stuck with us.
Mhm.
So we're just going to go around here and just kind of spitball, talk about some of our, in TV and film and that have stuck with us, fictional characters dying. So, Brian, before you join the list, let's start with you, bud. What's fictional death?
yeah, one of the most shocking deaths in television is, as far as I'm concerned. I'm a big fan of the Walking Dead series. I watched every single episode, start to finish, and certainly they had many characters there that you got it connected with and enjoyed, and they would eventually get killed off. It was, just a grim life of living among zombies and other humans fighting for survival. But one of the most beloved characters was shockingly killed by Negan. That's the guy with the baseball bat wrapped in barbed wire, brutally killed.
I saw that guy come up on The Boys.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the
He
same
did
actor.
what on The Boys?
Yeah, the guy that
Sounds
played
like he
Negan,
should be in jail.
Harry Dean Morgan. Yeah, he played
Henry
Henry Dean. In The Boys. Anyways, the character was Glenn Rhee, played by Stephen Young.
The eyeballs pop out there,
Mm.
right? And isn't that the same scene you're talking about? Is it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
It was very brutal. So that Glenn was a beloved character that started in season 1. He had just gotten married to Maggie, and they had an infant son or a baby on the way or something like that. And Negan put a bunch of the main cast characters on their knees at the beginning. So it ended a season where he's walking with the bat. He's going to kill somebody, and he had to wait until they took their pause and came back. Who was going to die? And he picked Glenn. He's like, you can't kill Glenn.
Sure.
I mean, there's no way. Somehow he's going to get out of this. And sure enough, he walked over, smashed his head in with the bat, and his eye. It was such a shockingly violent scene against one of the most beloved characters on the series, and killed him and another popular character right there. Bam.
That's wild.
It was crazy wild. And since then, they have a character arc where Negan kind of redeemed himself, and he's actually
You can
in
read
a new series. Yeah, I guess so. But he's in a new series with
wrestling
Maggie.
rules, I guess.
Yeah, with Maggie, the wife of Glenn. So there has that whole tension dynamic where she still hates his guts, and
Well,
he
sure.
saved her life a few times and everything. So, anyway, Glenn from The Walking Dead. Yep. Dean, what do you got?
All right. I'm going to start with, you know what? I'm going to get this out of the way because I don't think either of you two watched the TV show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
No.
Wasn't really even in you were not the demographic, nor was I. But I moved into the apartment. I moved into an apartment once, and cable wasn't going to be able to come and get hooked up for like a week. So, and who I was with had the collection of the whole series of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, so we just ran through them. And so I got into it, and it's actually a really well written show. I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed everything about it. But there was the episode where Joyce Summers, Buffy's mom, dies. Now, what's shocking about this episode, what was cool but very shocking, was the TV show is surrounded by death, by vampires biting people, killing people, and slayers stabbing people, and vampires and whatnot. This show, she died of like a brain aneurysm. Like she fell on the couch and died, and you didn't see that actually happen. Buffy walks in, and the whole cool thing about this episode, it was the first and only episode I think on TV that had no music whatsoever. There was no background da 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 or da 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 da. None of that. It was a silent. You only heard birds chirping. You only heard like the ambient noises around. And that show was big on like doing weird stuff like that, not different stuff like that. Like they had a musical episode and whatnot. But yeah, they killed off the. Not only it is memorable because they killed off a back character, a side character, and the main character's mother, but for the reason that she didn't die of what normally happens on that show, and the fact that like the innovation of the episode being with no music. It was very cool, very interesting. You definitely felt the angst of that death more with no music, because you weren't being told how to, a lot of music get you to where you need to go emotionally. This didn't tell you what was scary, what was sad. You just had to rely on the performers and their reactions. And I think that's what's big about this topic that we're doing, is that all these deaths would honestly probably mean nothing for the most part if it wasn't for the actors reacting to them. And I think that's going to be the big theme throughout this, at least on my list, of how how the other characters reacted is what brings that death really to our face. So with that, Joyce Summers, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, first on my list.
Good.
Gen X Brian here from the Convincing Idiots podcast. If you're enjoying our show, tell a friend. And if you're not, well, tell two enemies.
Very good. I am going to this one is very similar to the one Brian brought forward. It's from Game of Thrones. It's kind of a multi-level blow. It's so in Game of Thrones,
I love those.
I don't recall either one of you. Brian, you didn't watch Game. I know Dean, you did. You watched a couple episodes, but it didn't.
Nope.
So okay, in Game of Thrones, when you're watching it, I had not read the books prior. I read them afterwards because I like the show so much. But upon watching the show,
you can't read.
And you get into it.
Sorry.
There is very clearly, there's all these different families in medieval times and all these different things going on, but there's clearly one character that is your main character. He's kind of he's the good guy. He's the one you're obviously supposed to root for, and he's the one that is honorable and right and whatever. And the season finale of the very first season, he seems to be, coming to his end, but you're like, well, that can't happen because he's clearly the main character and he's the hero of the story. Well, sure as shit, they lob his head off in front of his family. And that was shocking. Okay. And I was like, wow, that really set a tone, for this show. Yeah. So going forward, there's the rest of his family that are, his wife and he had 2 daughters and 2 sons and 1 adopted, and actually 3 sons. So whatever, there's like 6 kids or some shit, and his whole family, and then the leaders of the North, the Stark family, through the next 2 seasons after he's beheaded, and they're trying to find their way back to prominence and defend their land. And, they're once again, because this horrible thing happened to him, they are fighting for their way back and fighting for their family and the North and their standing, of the family that has wronged them and currently sits on the throne. And you're like, okay, here's our new story arc. The family rises up, and they're, eventually this horrible atrocity that happened to them, and clearly a hero in this tale, it will be righted. Well, at the end of like season 3, there's what's called there as it's known as the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. That's what the name of the chapter is in the books, and that's what the name of the finale of that season is. And in which case there is this, it is where this culmination of plans come to head, and it seems like where this family is going to finally gain some more status and prominence, and finally be able to make a move towards really, fighting for the throne. And what you find out is they were duped into this situation. They were tricked and trapped, and it's a massacre. Like the one that is supposed to be the king after his father's death, and he's got a pregnant wife. She gets her throat slit. They stab the baby in her belly. They cut his mom's head off in front of him. I mean, it's a massacre. The children are murdered. Everything is like crazy. Like, it's just everybody that is of this family or a supporter of this family is murdered at this wedding, and it's absolutely
a day for a red wedding.
I have never, I watched that episode and I felt it was the worst thing that has ever happened in my life that wasn't real or had nothing to do with me personally. I sat there in complete disbelief of what I was seeing, and I was just like, no, oh my God, fuck, it just got so much worse every step of the way. Every the next scene was something even more traumatic than the last, and just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it did, until they just decimated everything. And it was like, oh my God, just what a fucking story arc. Incredibly well written. Talk about fucking just turning the storyline up fucking side down. And Game of Thrones did that a lot. Every time you get attached, what's his face from Last of Us and Mando and fucking that he was I first saw him, Pedro Pascal. At first I ever saw him was Game of Thrones. He was a character that came on the scene. Seemed like he was going to be the guy you can root for, and there's this guy, and dies brutally, gets his eyes fucking gouged out with somebody's thumbs. I mean, it's fucking crazy. So, but Game of Thrones did that really well. But the Red Wedding, like I said, it's dual part because the main character being killed off at the end of the first season in a brutal way was a shock, but it's like you had no idea what this show was about to do to you through 8 seasons. It was just constant shit like that. You never saw things coming. So yeah, to this day, like I've said in past episodes, 7 incredible, mind-blowingly amazing seasons of television. The 8th season, I don't love the way it ended. Not a lot of people did, but what a fucking show. It really was great for all those years. But Game of Thrones, Red Wedding is my first one.
Very good.
Right.
Brian?
An incredible character arc in the Marvel universe. Became, this character was the first main Marvel hero in the Marvel universe. Became beloved because of the portrayal of Robert Downey Jr. of Tony Stark, the tragic death of Tony Stark in the Avengers movie, where he sacrificed himself to ultimately defeat Thanos and bring back everybody who had been blipped out, if you will, but just tragic. He had finally found peace and happiness, as I remember, with his family and a daughter, and just so sad. Oh my God, that was just a very many people crying in the theater. I'm sure I was tearing up there. And then the whole funeral scene, and that scene to this day, they call that one of the most complicated scenes to shoot in all of movies because they literally had everybody there. It was nobody was added in CGI wise or whatever. They had to get every single actor there in one shot, which was a huge undertaking with everybody's schedule and everything at the time. You figure all those big actors and actresses there, to have them all there at the very same time for even a limited shot was just a challenge to do so schedule wise. So
I heard the hardest was to get the rocket there was the hardest.
Yeah,
because he's so busy with like publicity tours and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
He's got a bit of a drug problem. They try to
Yeah, we don't like to
keep him under wraps, but
don't talk about
Yeah, so even to this day, people are just, they're any chance to have any type, even a variant Tony Stark is interesting. Of course, now Robert Downey is going to return as Doctor Doom, which is a whole mystery behind that. Is it a variant of Tony Stark? We're not sure yet, but Tony Stark is Iron Man, one of the most tragic deaths
absolutely
in all the movies, in my opinion.
Very good.
All right, my next one, we touched on this show earlier in this episode.
I'm sure what this is.
From Scrubs.
Oh, no, I'm wrong.
Ben Sullivan from Scrubs. It is Brendan Fraser played him.
God.
He was, what's his name? Her brother comes, Perry's wife. Her brother. And throughout the episode, he's kind of following Perry around, annoying him with a camera, and it's just him going back and forth with Perry Cox. And at the end of the episode, it's one of those reveals that you realize that he's been in Perry's mind the whole time. And that they're really they've been getting ready to go to his funeral, to Ben's funeral, and the reveal at the end when John C. McGinley is just magnificent in this episode. That final, not the final scene of the episode, but the final into the reveal when Perry's saying something to Ben and he's laughing, and then you have JD come over and go, "Where do you think we are?" And then that realization, the acting on just his face of going from happiness to very quick confusion to realization that Ben has been, died of the cancer all along. Because like at the beginning of the episode, you find, Perry tells him that the lab results came back and that the cancer's gone and you'll be fine. So you didn't even think about it. But that reveal at the end with John McGinley, it's just masterful acting. And like I said before, it's the not the death itself, but like the reaction from the other actors. So
that show, we've mentioned Scrubs a couple times on this episode, and that show, for being such a good comedy and a silly comedy and all that stuff, did such a good job of playing that, but also being so touching and so having so many episodes and so many moments that were so raw and real, and that was definitely one of them. And really, like you said, just really well done. I'm excited about that. But love that show.
Absolutely.
Good one.
Nikolai?
I'm going to take a layup here. As the millennial on this show, it is my duty to bring this to the table, as it has scarred my entire generation and perhaps even some others. It's Mufasa from The Lion King, of course.
Is it what scarred you?
As it has been noted, it was the goal of all children's movies of my generation to brutally murder one of the parents of the main child. It happened in The Land Before Time. It happened in The Lion King. It happened in Bambi. It happened a parent's gonna die. If you have a main child character, one of the parents will die, and it's gonna tear your fucking heart out. I don't know what it was about the 90s. They needed you to be prepared for you to be ready for a parent's death always.
What they did is those cartoons toughened us up. They got us ready for life. Shit's gonna be awful, but you just gotta persevere, and that's what those fucking movies did.
Or is that why we're so into checking in with ourselves and self-preservation and taking we're always just like, hey man, it's a tough world out there. Like you got to be ready for your parent to die at any fucking moment.
Okay.
I don't need to tell you about Mufasa. Everybody knows it. Everybody's cited it. And literally for me personally, I was a sensitive child. It always made me sad from the standpoint of a child that his dad had died. But there is something, and it's so much. It's actually gotten worse now that I have kids and am a father. There is something. It's heart wrenching. It's not so much the death of Mufasa, but it's the aftermath, and it's Simba coming up to him and just pleading for him to get up, Dad, and tugging on him and come on, Dad, just get up, let's go home, come on. And it's, dude, it's like that is what does it. It's not him falling to his death and being trampled. Yes, that's sad. Yes, he was great character and a mentor and father, but like it's the watching the little cartoon lion come to the realization that his dad's never waking up again and they're never going to go home, and it's not, and then he thinks it's his fault. Like, it's just fuck, man, like, really. And even the redid version that they did is like also sad because it's an adorable, realistic looking lion cub. It's just fucking brutal. So yeah, it's an easy one to pick. Everyone cites it, everyone says it's sad, but that's what does it.
Does it make it worse, Nick? When you realize later in the movie, when Scar is talking in the cave and he picks up the skull,
they say that's Mufasa's or whatever.
Probably Mufasa's head.
Yeah, I've seen those theories. Yeah. And again, it's really not. It is traumatic, the death of Mufasa, but it is more of the
reaction.
Simba coming to the realization and not coming to terms at first that he's dead. And then he's made to think it's his fault, and like it's just it's horrible. It really is fucked.
Simba's probably an idiot.
What's that?
We probably just take to the realization that Simba's probably just an idiot.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like I said, it's an easy layup. But yeah, definitely to this day, just the other day, the newer version of it was on. And it was on while we were at the table, and we just finished dinner, and Robin always makes fun. She goes, "Oh, here it comes. Your dad's gonna cry." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm watching it, and it started, and he's doing the whole dad wake up thing, and I'm like, "Fuck that!" I get up, and I had to walk out of the room. It's like, "Fuck this! I can't do this." Like, it's too fucking sad. It's every time. I've seen that movie so many times. It's every single time it hits the same. So. Anyway, Brian, what makes you cry?
That's a good one. Well, one of the most shocking deaths also in television history at the time was incredibly shocking and generated a lot of upset viewers that even wrote letters to the producers and everything else here. But yeah, they definitely wanted to send a message, and they certainly did. So a very funny character on the show MASH, Colonel Henry Blake, played by McLean Stevenson. Now, McLean Stevenson was an actor, wanted to leave the show and do something else. And they decided to kill him. So it was just a scene where all the doctors are in the operating room, and they sent in radar. And he just simply said something like, and they didn't even tell the cast members until right before they shot the scene, because they wanted to keep it secret, And
they wanted to get their actual genuine reaction as well.
Yeah. And then radar comes in and says, I have an announcement that, his plane was shot down over the Japan Sea or something like that. And there were no survivors. Yeah. And he walks out.
And the radar's reaction to it makes that fucking scene.
Yeah.
Like, did he there's no more breath in him. You know what I mean? Like, it's the last breath that he has possible.
Yeah.
To say those words.
Yeah. And then everybody pauses. And then it's just very silent. And then they have people they're operating on. They have to keep the soldiers. They have to keep working.
You'll hear occasional sniff.
Yeah.
Sniffle.
And just go back to work, and that's it. And the producer said, they just wanted to send a message that war is hell, and that was very, very. That show had many powerful moments, but that was up there amongst arguably the most powerful moment in that show to make you remember.
That's why the Scrubs MASH crossover would be amazing.
Yeah. There you go. That's right. So yeah. I probably took one off your list. You didn't mean to do that, but yeah,
That was actually the next one on my list, but I'm going to replace it.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I actually have a lot of honorable mentions, but I'm going to pull the one that I thought I was going back and forth on. Bill McNeil from News Radio. This was Phil Hartman's character. It is because Phil Hartman, unfortunately, was killed by his wife, and well before his time, passed away while they were in the show.
Known for his work in Jingle All the Way.
Right.
Yep.
But what made that so powerful was when you're watching it, live, those tears on those actors' faces when they were doing any of those scenes where they're talking about and then breaking down were real. They were not just mourning the death of Bill McNeil. They were mourning the death of Phil Hartman. As we all were as fans of Phil Hartman. So that brings together real life and character life, and then brings the viewer in just the same for both, because you care about the character, you care about the actor. So it is this whole weird meta thing going on where the fourth wall is being broken down, and just it was just one of the saddest moments in television for that reason.
Yeah.
So
where
Bill
art
McNeil,
and reality are meshing together, kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, what do you got?
Yep. So the next one I've got is from one of my favorite movies. It is called Four Brothers. You guys ever seen?
Mm-mm.
Mark Wahlberg, Tyrese
so.
Gibson, Andre 3000.
I love it. I've just never seen it.
Okay, so really underrated. I mean, as far as Mark Wahlberg movies goes, not one of his top ones, but I feel like an underrated one. Really liked it. Brief synopsis of the movie. All these four adults, brothers, they're all adopted. They were all troubled youth in Detroit, and there was their mother was this woman who took in foster kids, and she kept these four because they were really troubled. They were some of the worst ones she came across, but she really bonded to them and ended up raising them to be the men that they became. And they had their, pasts and run-ins with the law and stuff like that. But, otherwise she basically saved them, right? So the story is that she is, at the beginning of the movie, she is murdered. And so they take it upon themselves to, with a little bit of the cops' help, but mostly to kind of a little vigilante justice, they're going to find out who did this, and they're going to see with the people they know from all these, kind of like a mob movie kind of feel a little bit, There is a moment where they, through digging through things and asking questions, and they're getting on the trail. Well, the people that they're on to end up, they come and attack their house, start shooting up their home. And so they all get their guns and they're, shooting back at him and stuff like that. The youngest brother, I can't think of the actor. You guys would know him if you saw him. He was the young kid. He was a young kid in that Friday Night Lights movie. I don't know. It doesn't matter to say it, but he was the youngest of them. He was their baby brother, the youngest one. And at one point, he's going to basically bust out the back door and attack him from the other side. And as he does that, he's off on his own, and he's, down the street, but he ends up getting shot. And he's lying there, hit. And as they're in this shootout with these guys, it was so heartbreaking. He's lying there in the snow with blood pouring out of his mouth, screaming for his older brother, Mark Wahlberg's character. To help him. He's like, I don't want to die, and he's like yelling to him, and he's, like I said, he's, not, when I say young kid, I mean he's probably early to mid 20s. He's a grown man, but he's the baby brother in the scenario, and it's such a feeling of helplessness because they're still in the midst of what's happening. They know that he's over there screaming and dying, and he's right there, but they can't get to him, and he's yelling for his older brother to come help him, and it was just a heartbreaking scene. So I absolutely love that movie. I would recommend it to anybody. It's a really great movie. But yeah, four brothers, Cracker Jack's death and their baby brother Jack's death, and that is one that always just kind of stuck with me. And that acting was really well done. So, Four Brothers. Brian, you're
good.
up, sir. Make me feel.
I still watch this movie at least once a year, typically around the 4th of July these days. It's kind of a weird patriotic movie. Rocky IV, the death of Apollo Creed in that movie. So shocking, really unnecessary. And Stallone said if he could really do the movie all over again, he probably wouldn't have killed him.
Uh-huh.
There really wasn't a reason to kill him. They could have put him.
You could have put him in a coma.
Yeah, you put him in a coma, put him in a chair or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
is he a part of the Rocky multiverse? Could he maybe like come back in some way or a different variant?
That would be great.
His son did in the Creed movies.
Creed movies, yeah. So played by the great Carl Weathers, who
you know what? I never finished watching those. I watched the first.
Watch them.
One or two. Did I watch the second? Because I wanted to watch the third.
Watch them.
Jonathan Majors was in it, and I started. I watched the first one, and I loved it. And I think I watched the first two. I think I just did the third. Anyway,
the third's good.
Jonathan Majors.
It's good.
I missed the third also.
Yeah, Jonathan Majors is a good villain in that.
Yeah,
in that movie. So yeah, definitely watch that. It has a realistic feel to it.
So mad.
I know. I hear, by the way, we're on a tangent, but I hear the rumor is that he will come back as Kang to fight Doctor Doom in the next. They'll lose, but that's rumors right now that it will come back at least to kind of close out that character. I don't know if it's true or not. But
I forgave Kanye for things. I'll forgive him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
If the art is good enough, I don't care. No,
that's right. No, but it's very
the artist from the art.
That's it. That's it. But yeah, just very sad, tragic ending of Apollo Creed. Unnecessary, but still, every time I watch it, you know it's coming. It's still tragic and sad, nonetheless. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my next one, I don't know if you guys saw it in the 90s, but NYPD Blue was a cop drama set in New York, and they were
cops.
What's that?
Cops. You said you had and I said cops.
Yes,
Never cops.
Jimmy Smits.
Mm-hmm.
Played Bobby Simone. He was leaving the show, and I mean, I guess there wasn't the internet, or at least it wasn't that big back then. But you didn't know that he was leaving, right? Unless you were like inside TV back then. So like for him to like in one episode, it wasn't again. It's kind of like that Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He didn't get shot, or anything like that. He actually, in the beginning of one of the mid-season, wasn't even the finale, he started like getting dizzy and stuff in the beginning of the episode. By the end, he's laying in a hospital bed, and he just died from whatever illness that he had within the one episode. And just again, this goes to the performance of the people around him, because and the actor, don't get me wrong, because like it was still like him very weak, and like just there's something about the strong cop, grown man sitting in this hospital bed with just that single tear running down because he's lying back, so it's running down the side of his face, and taking that last breath, and just his wife there next to him, just a very powerful, unexpected. I love that show. I was a huge fan of it as a teenager, and that definitely I think that episode I always state as my number one, because of like my age and unexpected, and the performance, and like it hit me different. Like I will always remember sitting in my room watching that episode, just gobsmacked. I was floored, and it was the first thing that like TV show, movie, whatever, that I remember crying to out of sadness. I was alone, just sit there and just it wasn't even like, oh, this is getting sad. I'm getting teared up. Like I didn't realize that I was crying until the tears were coming down my face as a teenage boy sitting in my room watching NYPD Blue. So Bobby Simone, played by Jimmy Smits, is the next on my list.
Yeah. You tell Teenage Dean I'm sorry for his loss. I feel for that little fella.
I'll let him know. I'll let him know. Thank you.
For my next one, I got a good one here for you. Mr. John Coffey, played by the incredible Michael Clark Duncan in The Green Mile.
Yes.
John Coffey's death is obviously the whole thing is just a lead up to the sad end of John Coffey, unfortunately. Wrongly accused man of murder of two young girls. I don't think I'm going to give people many spoilers about The Green Mile. I think it came out in like 1998 or something or whatever, 99, 2000, somewhere around there. Fantastic movie. Tom Hanks is the lead. It's a great movie. But yeah, man, it's just it's one of those, obviously he comes in as this massive beast of a man, and he's just a sweet man and just helpful and loving and gentle and kind and all throughout, no matter what. And it's a very slow lead up. And you kind of hold out hope that like it's going to work out, or it just doesn't.
Is the character slow? Like, isn't he kind of like has almost a child's mentality?
Yeah, he is.
So which makes it a little harder because he doesn't quite understand.
Right.
So, that puts flair to it.
He's true. Yeah. I mean, he's was born into slavery, and is like whatever, and is just like you said. It's like the mind of a child, where he doesn't, I don't think, even grasp the weight of what is happening, or that he's in prison, or he's going to be put to death. And it's a long, slow march to a tragic end. But John Coffey's death was, I was probably, I don't know, middle school age, say about, when you're LAPD Blue one, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's just such a sad movie. And a brilliant performance by the late Michael Clark Duncan. So John Coffey's death in The Green Mile. It is, yeah.
All right,
Brian.
Han Solo.
Sure.
Han Solo in The Force Awakens. Like, you knew that Harrison Ford wanted the character to be killed, and you saw the scene and you thought that this is kind of a harrowing moment for Han Solo and Kylo Ren. Like, maybe he'll be able to, reconnect with his son there or whatever. And just kind of the shock that Kylo Ren just kills him with the lightsaber, throws him over the bridge. It was like, God, such a tragic death of a, really one of the best characters in the entire Star Wars universe then, and still probably now, so not the way I wanted to see Han Solo go out, so I guess that was part of the point, to shock you and show you the really tragic fall of his son. Yeah, really. And the whole arc was just weird.
The greatest...
I don't think it was for nothing.
Yeah, really. That's true.
I don't think it was not intended to be for nothing. From my understanding, it was intended to... Kylo Ren was never supposed to be redeemed.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren was supposed to be like evil motherfucker.
Certainly would have been better that way. Yeah.
Right. So I think that sacrifice is like a professional wrestling match where the good guy finally gets beat and leaves, but it makes that bad guy so much hatred towards him. And I think that was what was supposed to happen, but unfortunately didn't. But
I was going to say, perhaps the greatest tragedy of that was that they wasted his death on not following through with what Kylo could have been.
Yeah, that's right. Made it worse. You're right. Yeah. So Han Solo, definitely a tragic character. Dean.
All right. For my last one on my list, but it just came to me, and I want to do a callback, and you famously said that I get off topic anyway. Richard Belzer.
Oh, yeah.
is the guy from Law & Order who has the most crossovers in TV. Richard Belzer. God
I'm
damn
still
it.
pretty sure it's Boner, though.
No, he has a boner. Well, actually, he's dead, so it's like
Oh.
Rick Mortis might have set in, so
Yeah.
he might have a boner still. I don't know.
Nobody ever said that we didn't do obituaries in a interesting fashion.
That's true.
That's right.
All right. So for my last one, I'm going to go off one of Brian's picks. Well, at least the movie franchise. I'm going Rocky. I'm going Mickey.
Yeah.
When he gets pushed, like you could tell he was starting to have the heart attack. You know, he had a little sign start the movie. You go back and watch, like there were signs leading up to that push from Clubber Lang. But with a beaten and pulverized Rocky, knowing that that's why he lost, and coming back and holding him, and the sweat and the tears, and landing on Burge Meredith's face, it's just such a sad scene. Talk about a beloved character through the first 2.5 movies.
Sure.
To lose him, So Mickey is the last on my list. Rocky movies. Rocky 3 to be exact.
That death made sense in that series. That really made sense for many.
Yep.
Yeah. It's sad, tragic, but
he came back as a ghost in episode 5, so
I think that's right. Yeah.
He did. He sure did.
Right.
Like a Force ghost? Like what?
Sorta. So dumb.
Beat that Tommy kid on the street. Yeah.
Get up.
How is it?
Because Mickey loves you.
How is it I've never seen a Rocky movie, but I remember the death scene of Mickey? I don't why do I know that?
It's one of those when they show different, famous scene from movies, they will show that.
Okay.
It was such a powerful scene and like Brian said, necessary in the movie. So that's probably why you remember it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right, I'm going to finish off here with a complete unknown. I don't think either one of you guys have ever watched the show. I don't think a lot of people watch the show.
I don't think you've named a show that I've watched, actually.
You've seen The Lion King. You've seen The Green Mile. No, I don't think a lot of people watched it, and that's why they didn't make a second season, which really upset me. But I'm a big Sean Penn fan. He's my favorite actor. And he was on a Hulu original show called The First, in which he was an astronaut, and it kind of dealt with it was a drama series about his life here on Earth and preparing on his next mission or whatever, and but also like he was raising a teenage daughter, and the mother had passed, and as the story progresses and as the season progresses, you unfold a little more about
or he offered and she passed.
She died. Nobody passes on Sean Penn. That's a pretty cut fella for his age. He's pretty good shape. He's a good looking dude, But no, he so anyway, as the season goes on, you get little snippets of flashbacks of him and his wife who has passed, and it slowly puts together the story. It starts from their fun when they met and whatever, and having their daughter and raising her, and then as the time goes on, you see her in these flashbacks slip into. She has these, it kind of progresses over time, but she slips into a deeper and deeper mental illness, a depression. And there is a scene when it finally shows how she dies. That. Like Dean, you had said before, just fucking hit me different. I just didn't really see it coming that way, and it was so, I don't know what the word to describe it was. It was just so, it caught me off guard. What happens is she stops taking her medicine, and she's, her daughter's there and understands that she's having a bad day, and she's like, "Mom, you haven't been taking your medicine." Next thing, she's on the phone with the doctor, and they live across the street from this like river, and she literally walks out their front door as a zombie in her bathrobe, and while no one's paying attention, just walks out the door, across the street, and into the river. And her teenage daughter's on the phone with her doctor, and she looks out the window and sees her like walking into the river across the street, and she just goes and like drowns and floats away like in front of her. It was such a surreal scene, and it was very, I don't know, it just hit me different. It was just something I'd never seen. Watching her daughter like cry and scream for her and like go and try to grab her body out of the river. It was just so fucking like, I don't know. It was a really good show. I really liked it a lot. It was, like I said, it was kind of, I guess maybe it was a little.
Did she run into the river to get her, or did she use like a fishing pole?
Once she ran into the river to like, and she's in her pajamas and like trying to fish her mom out with the, it's just like, it was really, it was a weird scene, but really like the acting was really well done, and the girl who, I don't know who played the teenage daughter in that show, but she was fantastic, and Sean Penn's great in it. It's still on Hulu. Like I said, it was a Hulu original. They only made one season, but you could tell they planned on more because the groundwork they laid with the storyline was pretty in depth. But
she was supposed to come back
still
as a
bums
Force
me out.
Ghost.
Yeah, right. She was going to do the Mickey thing, Go out to space, kid. I love you, but he didn't make it that far.
Yeah, that's space, you son of a bitch. Because Mickey loves you.
But yeah, I saved that one to last because I figured, I don't think we've ever talked about it before. I don't imagine you guys have ever seen that show. But yeah, I think it was like 2016, 2017. But yeah, it was a great show. It was just really well done. So anyway, that's mine. Honorable mentions, Brian?
Honorable mentions?
Brian's got a last one, right?
No, I went through mine. I did my five.
Honorable mentions.
Do you want to do rapid fire? Or?
Yeah. It's probably best.
Okay.
Boom. Just Brian, honorable mention, go.
Yeah, Doc Holliday, Tombstone, Val Kilmer. Very sad scene with two men, losing a good friend.
Again, the tear going down the side of the thing. Very sad.
And the booklet, my friend Doc Holliday, just very sad. I tear up every time I watch it.
Absolutely. You're going down your whole list. No. Go ahead. No, do yours. Okay. All right.
Go.
The dog.
Fuck you guys. I'm going. No.
The dog in I Am Legend. The look on Will's face when he has to kill his own dog.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's got a fucking zombie dog.
Mm-hmm.
That eats me up every time. That's just sad. Fuck you.
And that dog would eat him up if he
would have. Easily.
Got to do it. I'll give you a dog one, and the only reason it's an honorable mention is because it's actually not fictional, because it's based on a true story. But Marley, from Marley and Me, it's sad every time. You go through the whole story of the dog and the family, and you see the dog's life unfold as this family grows, and then they gotta put him down, and it's very sad. But not fictional, really. Marley is a real dog. That'd be sick. I'm pretty sure Gizmo is. Gizmo, I've talked myself into that Gizmo will live forever. So
good luck with that one.
Yep, thank you.
Brian?
Shocking from the last Daniel Craig James Bond movie. Fucking James Bond died. I couldn't believe it.
Sure.
No Time to Die. I'm like, Allie and I
were
watching.
However, there was.
Yeah, sure was.
He just got, he fell in love. He had a daughter, and they killed him off. And Allie's like, he's dead. I'm like, they're not going to kill James Bond. They can't kill James Bond. And then also the credits, I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Well, that was stupid.
What? I mean, obviously, James Bond will return when they iron it all out and everything.
Right.
But yeah, it
was why? Wait, what? You can't.
It was a shocking end of that movie. Yeah, crazy. All right, Dean.
All right, next one from Endgame, Spider-Man. There's nothing like more panicky about that.
Yeah,
when he doesn't understand what's happening, and he's begging Tony to help him, and he's scared, and like just that quick panic scene.
I almost put that on my list, but he didn't die.
He didn't. You're right.
He comes back. He didn't. He disappeared for like 7 years, but he didn't die. Yeah,
right. It's honorable mentions because it wasn't quite the death.
Sure.
Death. Right.
Yep.
Nikolai.
I'll give you a Spidey one. Aunt May in the final Spider-Man. I couldn't believe they did that.
Yeah,
it made me so sad because Aunt May by Marissa Tomei is just so hot, and it made me so sad to see someone so hot die like that.
Yeah, it's
so
always
fucking hot. It's so sad.
I hate to see hot die.
Yeah, right. But no, it was. I remember we all went to that together, and I remember sitting in the theater and being like, "She can't. They're not going to do that. They can't kill. They're not
reaching over and
I'm like,
catching your tears.
The fucking credits or not credits, but I mean the scene fades out. I'm like, they fucking killed Aunt May. They filmed hot. They killed hot ass Marissa Tomei, Aunt May. Ridiculous. So
bullshit.
There you go.
Brian, change it up. One of the few movies that I can recall ever seeing that within, me and many people, I'm sure, cried within the first 10 minutes of the movie because of the opening story that they portrayed of the main characters. The wife from Up. Remember that scene?
Oh,
There's like the whole it portrays the happy. It's just like, oh, it's a happy story, and then she dies. I'm like, Jesus Christ!
Yeah,
uncomfortable for everybody. Buckle
right the fuck away.
So sad.
Yeah,
and it really hits you in the feels right from the start.
Yep.
You know,
the guy's a whole dick for the rest of the movie and makes you forget about all the.
Well, you understand.
My Ellie, she always wanted to go to Paradise Falls. Fucking Ellie! Oh my god, it's fucking terrible.
Yeah.
There you go. She created so much loving care in your heart enough to you be an asshole to everybody after she died. Yeah, that's what she would have wanted. You prick.
Well, it would make you angry.
That
maybe. Anyways,
him to crash the house into the fucking ocean. Fuck him. All right. So
it's weird that you hate him for that when that's you and you didn't even lose anybody. That's weird.
Do you know how I feel about myself?
We've come over to your house many times and you've had several balloons tied to the top of the house. I'm trying to get it to fly away.
I'm getting the fuck out of here.
I can't wait. All right, my next one, Thomas J. from My Girl. Macaulay Culkin when he died from the fucking bee stings.
The bees. So afraid of bees as a child because I thought that would be me.
Oh my God, it's the bees. No, the sad part was her coming out and like, I mean, she was obviously in shock and distress.
Coming out. I missed that part of the movie.
Well, no. She came to the funeral and like he has to wear his glasses. He has to wear his glasses. Like that scene of like her yelling that he needs his glasses and just that's heartbreaking.
It's very Simba Mufasa-esque. It's the aftermath of the death itself.
That puts that hit in your stomach. So Thomas J. My Girl.
Yeah. My last honorable mention. You guys know I'm gonna say it. You know it hits my feels. We're close. We talk about this type of shit.
Mm-hmm.
The fucking bantha beheading, the plush bantha beheading from the Star Wars Holiday Special. Oh my God! Like, how deep into my heart do you have to reach to rip it the fuck out with that little? And again, it's the aftermath. It's the heartbreak of little Chompy or whatever the fuck his name is. Gummy, Chompy, Bucky. What's his name? Little Chewy.
Philip Morris, actually. No.
Little gingivitis, I think it's called.
The hardest part about it was like you're already like worked up from seeing Wookiee porn, and then they put that on you as a
I'm going through all the phases of life. I'm trying to fuck. Now I'm dealing with death. Like now, what the fuck? And now B. Arthur's fucking pouring shit into a guy's head. I don't even know what the fuck is up and down.
Yeah. Nope.
Like my, you know, from Wookiee porn to the beheading to B. Arthur, my dick goes like this to this to this. Like all in one movie. It's very
looks like a goddamn protractor.
Yeah, it's strange.
So yeah, that's it for me, boys. That's it.
Explained as pro. Anyway, thank you.
One more, Luke Skywalker. I thought that the probably of all the main character deaths, his was probably they tried to at least make it more meaningful. He was definitely trying to save people and everything. It's just not the way I envisioned Luke Skywalker going out.
No,
nor did Mark Hamill, of course, who played the character. But I just wanted something more from that.
Yep.
You know, I don't know. So just
like I've said,
how they did it was not the best. It was better than the other two, I think, maybe, but I don't know. Just it could have done a lot better job. More justice for Luke Skywalker dying.
What else could you have done? It was a CGI because the actress actually died. Like they did the best they could.
No, well, they did more than they needed to.
Right.
Yeah, they
They
brought
could
her.
have done the best.
Brought
They
herself
did
back
more.
in. It's just
Yeah.
I don't know. They really fumbled it all three.
Yeah.
Core.
I in my mind have come to terms with, in my reality, to make myself okay with it, the whole story ends at episode 6. It ends at Return of the Jedi. I pretend the other 3 do never fucking happen. They are a fever dream. They are not a part of my Star Wars story, and that is the only way I can continue to enjoy it. Because I need none of the other shit to happen.
Yeah.
In my head,
It's just ridiculous.
Given the idea that Princess Leia was CGI'd anyways, how great would it have been if she just was standing there like a tiger out of fucking nowhere, comes in and just pounces on her and kills her?
Space Tiger.
Space Tiger.
Yeah.
Oh, like the one from He-Man. Fucking Battle Cat.
Yeah, Battle Cat. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Remember that lost flight from the airline a few years ago, the India? It was Space Cat, Space Tigers, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think that's actually scientifically proven at this point.
I'm pretty sure I've seen pictures online.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're AI, I don't know.
It all ties back to Bob Uecker somehow.
That's right. That's right.
Mr. Baseball.
Mr. Baseball.
Mr. Space Cat.
Yep.
All right. I have a bunch of honorable mentions, but I think
we
good.
don't have time for that, Mrs. Baseball. It's time to wrap up the show.
That's right.
The one, actually, the one that I will bring up real quick, and we can touch on it. Actually, I didn't have it written down. It actually popped into my head as we were doing this. How uncomfortable is the death scene in shit? What was the war movie? Steven Spielberg.
Saving Private
Close Encounters.
Saving Private Ryan, when he's when he's getting stabbed in the heart by the German guy, and it's slowly going into it, and like the other guy's watching from like around the corner, not doing anything, and he's like, the Germans up there. It's like the camera's so just right in there to their faces, and the knife slowly going into his heart, and the German guy's like saying something in German that you don't understand.
Ich liebe dich.
Dude, yeah, that's a rough one to see. I don't know if you guys.
I love you.
I deeply believe to you too.
Well,
Hasta Blanca.
All right, that's
the most tragic death of all. Is the most tragic death of? Yeah, that's right. This show, or at least is the end of this particular episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Yeah. Nick, can you take us out, please, if you don't mind?
Yes, I will. So, as some of our fictional characters have died, so has this episode of Convincing Idiots, which was 224. I'll tell you what is not dead, though, and that is your dreams. That's right. Your dreams. I mean, of course, the one including you on an electric bike. That's not dead. It's a brand new year full of possibilities, and so many opportunities for you to get an electric bike. Where, you might ask? Well, of course, it's our friends at RPM Bike Shop, located in Carrollton, Ohio. If you don't believe me, you can go to their website and see pictures of their fantastic electrical bikes. That would be rpmbikeshop.com, or maybe you're watching us on YouTube. Conveniently go to that search bar up over our heads and type in RPM Bike Shop. They're the ones in Carrollton, Ohio. Check out their bikes. Put yourself on one. Give them a call today, 330-808-7792. And don't let your dream of being on an electric bike die today or anytime soon. However, one thing that is going to die and draw to a close is episode 224 of Convincing Idiots. So, be sure to support the show in all the ways that you can, and the easiest way to do so is by going to all of our social media accounts and being sure to like and subscribe and all that good stuff. Interact with us in any way that you feel appropriate. You can find links to all of those on our Linktree, so Google Convincing Idiots Linktree, that's LANKTREE, or you can go to our website, convincingidiots.wordpress.com. So, for another fantastical episode of Convincing Idiots, let's put this bitch in the grave. I'm Millennial Nick.
I'm Zennial Dean.
Gen X Brian.
Have we convinced you to kill your time with us next week? Ooh.
Maybe we talk about zombies. It's
Maybe.
the circle.
Of life.
Hey, Dean with Convincing Idiots. Brian and Nick here. Like and subscribe.